This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we have a squeaky Samsung dryer, and we suspect it may be the roller support wheels. So we're going to take off the top panel by removing two Phillips head screws from the back, upper left and upper right hand corner. Take out those screws, and then you can slide the upper panel back away from you. Sometimes it's kind of hard to move. I use a standard head screwdriver to kind of pry it back a little bit. Then you can go back about an inch, and then you can lift it right off. And that's going to give you some access to pull off this control panel on the top. You want to just reach in there and pull it away from you. And you may use a standard head screwdriver to gently pry up to help to unloosen a couple of these little clips. And then you want to wiggle it towards you and pull it off. And then there's a couple of electrical connectors you have to undo to totally remove the control panel. You want to remove these two Phillips head screws here at the bottom. They're helping to hold on the front panel. And then you're going to remove these four here at the top that are helping to hold on the front panel. So we took off the top panel, the control panel, and now we're taking off the front panel. And we got a kit here that comes with a new belt, 4 new rollers, and a new idler wheel. These are all the things that can squeak. So we're taking out these two machine screws, one here and one a little bit higher up. They're also holding on the front panel. And now we should be able to pull the front panel back. There are two clips you want to push down with the standard head screwdriver, this one on the left, this one on the right, and then the panel will come towards you. And there's one more piece that you want to undo for the door switch. Be careful here of these sheet metal on the front panel. It's very sharp. Maybe even wearing gloves is a good idea. We're taking out a couple of Phillips head screws here that are on the filter ducting, and we're going to get that out of the way. There's 3 of them in total, and then we'll pull the ducting down and toward us to remove it. If you pull out the filter, it makes it even a little bit easier to get that out. There we go. And we're going to remove this one electrical connector for the moisture sensor. We're going to push in with our thumb and then wiggle it loose. There we go. Now we can take off this bulkhead, which is holding on. Actually, we're going to take off the upper frame piece first. There's 2 Phillips head screws on the left, 2 on the right that are holding it in position. Should come right off. Oftentimes you have to wiggle these things off after you get the fasteners out. So there was 2 on the right, 2 on the left, and then we're going to gently wiggle this out. There's still some wires connected to it. Oh, actually there's one here, one more screw here at the top we're going to take out. That's part of the control on the left. We have to get that screw out too. So now that all the screws are out, we're going to gently wiggle it out, get these wires out of here. And then there's some wire holders here on the back. We're just going to untwist them, get the wires out of there, and we can take this panel off. And then we take off the bulkhead is the part that's holding the tumbler in position. And we want to remove that by removing 4 screws that hold it in. So I'm just going to undo these wire holders also because that's part of the bulkhead, and we got to get the bulkhead off. Going to get that wire out of the way. So zip off that one. Yeah, the kit that has the 4 rollers and the new belt and the new idler wheel was only like $35. Pretty good deal. Got it at Amazon. So zip out. Those screws are holding on the bulkhead, and we're going to lift the bulkhead up a little bit by about maybe 1/4 inch and then pull it toward us. And then we'll have to get the belt off of the tumbler. So we do that. To do that, we lay down get closer so we can see what we're doing. And we push the idler wheel to our left, takes the tension off of the belt, and we can pull it off of the motor pulley. And then what we noticed is that this support wheel on the left was really messed up. It had just worn out in a really strange way, and that's what was making all the squeak. So we're going to replace that. Usually you can just replace the wheel, but in this case the post that it rides on is also looking kind of worn out. So I'm going to take my crescent wrench and grab the front of it and spin it off. There's a nut behind it, so I'm holding onto the nut with my fingers. Usually you don't need to use pliers or a crescent wrench to hold it. You can usually just use your fingers. It will come loose. If the nut starts to move, though, as you're spinning the post, you can grab it with a pair of pliers or vice grips from behind. Even though you can't see it, you can just reach up there and grab it. But in my case, I was able to just hold the nut with my fingers and spin this thing off. Now the new wheel comes on a new shaft, and sometimes you don't need the shaft because they're not worn out. In this case, this one is worn out. So we're going to be holding onto the nut, spinning off the old one, and then we'll just, while we're holding the nut, we'll spin on the new one. I put it in the washer, and then the post goes in. I'm going to spin it in by hand. I'm holding onto the nut until it gets finger tight, and then I'll use my crescent wrench to get it a little tighter. And the nut, I thought might move. I thought I might have to use pliers, but it just self-tightened. So that is actually done. And I grabbed the shaft and I bent it, not the shaft, but the support for the shaft a little bit to my right, because this shaft for some reason was not lined up really well. You probably won't have to do that. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe at the factory they didn't install it right, and it was bent a little bit to the left. I'm also replacing the one on the right, although it doesn't really look too worn out, but while I'm here I'll replace it. So I pulled it off by removing the little plastic holder. I pried that off. I pried off the new wheel off of its post. I put it on the old post, and then I put the little little plastic piece in there that fits into a ridge that holds on that wheel. So that post was actually in good shape. Wheel was actually in pretty good shape too, but I thought might as well replace it. So we get that into position, and this is the new idler wheel that comes with the kit. There's the part number, and it's pretty easy to replace. So I take it out of its plastic bag. I'm going to use my Phillips head screwdriver to take off one Phillips head screw that's holding it, take out the screw, and I'm going to remove it from its spring. Pretty easy just to pop that spring out. And I get the old one out of there, get the new one in its place. I'm going to put the spring in position. I'm going to line it up, and then I'll put that screw back in, finger tight first, and then I'll tighten it up with the Phillips head screwdriver. Make sure when this is done that idler wheel and its support can move up and down really easily. I may actually feel a little loose. It might be a little sloppy, like you can move front and back a little bit too. That's okay. That's normal. But it has to be able to move up and down. Also comes with a new belt. So while I'm here, I'm going to put the new belt on. I took off the old one. I'm going to slide the new one on. It has the rubber side down toward the tumbler and the cloth side up toward you. And then I'm putting on new support wheels also on the front bulkhead, and I did the same procedure. I just pried up on the little plastic clip, and then I'm taking the wheel off of the post. It comes on the post from the Amazon. I'm going to take it off of the post, and I'm going to go ahead and put this new wheel on the old post. Sometimes you might have to remove the old post and replace it with a new one, but usually they're not worn out. The part that normally wears out is the wheel itself. It's a little bit hard to get these on. Sometimes you gotta twist them and push them on, and they fit on really snugly onto the shaft. And then I'll put the little plastic clip on, And then I'll repeat that same procedure for the other wheel. So we actually have 4 new wheels. In this case, we have only 1 new post because only one of them was worn out. We replaced also the idler wheel and the belt. Putting the tumbler back on, I'm making sure that it's riding on those back support wheels, making sure the belt is lined up on the old marks that was left from the old belt. I'm going to lay down here and I'm going to push the idler wheel to my left and get the belt over onto the motor pulley. And then I'll spin the tumbler to make sure the belt is not going to slip off. I'll make a full revolution. If you forget to do this step, sometimes when you put it all back together and you start it, the belt slips off. So make sure that while you still have it open, make sure that belt's going to be okay. Putting the bulkhead back on, making sure that the front wheels are supporting the tumbler, and then I'm going to get the bulkhead lugs here to fit into the frame. So there's 4 of them. There's the 2 upper and 2 lower. Just kind of finagle it, wiggle it around until it all fits in. I'm making sure that the tumbler can spin easily. And I'll add the 4 Phillips head screws that hold the bulkhead to the frame. Get those tight. And we're almost done, and this should get rid of any squeak. In this case, I'm pretty sure it was that left support wheel because it was really worn out. So I'm putting the wire back into these little wire holders that are on the bulkhead. And I'm slipping these 2 control wires through the front of the this frame piece that holds onto the controller, and then I'm going to add the screws to hold it in. It actually has little ridges that fit into the frame to help you guide it in. It's pretty cool. So just take your time here. This part's a little tricky. You want to make sure you line everything up. Then we'll add in the screws here. There's 2 here on the left, 2 on the right, and there's actually 1 on the very top too for part of this control box. So we got those in on the left. We'll do the ones on the right. We're going to put the moisture sensor controller back together, the wire. Click that together. And then we're going to put the ducting back on, the part where the filter hangs out. Push that back up, and then we're going to add the 3 screws that hold that on. 1 on the right, 2 on the left. So this is kind of a long procedure, but it'll get everything renewed. You have a new belt, you have new idler wheel, and you have 4 new support rollers. We're going to go ahead and put the front panel down onto its little lugs in the front, and we're going to put the door switch plug back in. Again, be careful of the sharp edges. Push that in until it clicks. We'll add those 4 screws to the top. Get those done, and we'll add these 2 kind of coarse threaded ones here at the bottom, and then 2 fine machine threaded ones here on the left. And we can put the control panel back in. We're going to slide these little modular connectors back in, and then we'll push the control panel into position until it clicks. Put the top panel back on. We'll slide it back toward us. Once it's in position, we'll put the 2 Phillips head screws on the back to hold it. And then after you plug it back in, you can take it for a test drive, and you should be squeakless. There we go. So back to normal, no more terrible sounds, and we got a healthy dryer. So hope this has been helpful to you to fix your Samsung dryer. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe when you get a chance.